All right, guys, let's talk about metabolism because it's estimated that probably only about 7% of the population actually is metabolically healthy. But let's talk about what metabolism is. Metabolism refers to your body's ability to not only consume food, but also use that energy from the food that it's consuming to use it to repair healthy cells, be able to function optimally, have the energy that you want to need. Because if you're putting energy in, you better make sure you're able to get it out. But if your metabolism is not working in the right way, you're not going to be able to do it. And it's going to affect your mood, your energy levels, your ability to lose weight, even your ability to actually be able to focus and pay attention. Now, here are a couple signs and symptoms to kind of look out for that might be signaling to you your metabolism is not working the way it was designed to. The first one's going to be really obvious, but that's going to be more fatigue. Right? If your cells aren't metabolically healthy, that means the food that's coming in is not being able to be used by your mitochondria and it's not getting converted into energy, which means guess how you're going to feel? Low energy, right? And you might even begin to the point where you're like, I feel like I'm getting some nutrients in, but it's not coming out on the back end. That's a sign we have some dysfunctional metabolism going on. A second thing you might start noticing is more mood swings. Now, mood swings might sound a little strange, but really think of it this way. If your body's not able to consume those nutrients and actually convert it into energy, sure, you're not going to have the energy to feel energized, but also not only that, you typically will not have enough energy to produce the hormones that you need to produce. Also, you may not even be converting the specific nutrients that your body needs to convert to be able to create hormones efficiently. That's going to create a lot of problems at the hormonal level, which will obviously influence things like your mood swings, more irritability, things like that. Now, the third one, to me, this is probably the most common. This would be brain fog. Now, when I talk about metabolism at a cellular level and your cell's ability to be able to bring those nutrients in, and your mitochondria to be able to convert that, you have to imagine if that's not only happening in the body, that's also going to happen with your brain, in your brain cells, which means your brain cells are not going to be producing the energy they need to produce, which means you're going to feel foggy, you're going to feel cloudy, you feel like you can't pay attention, you can't focus, feels like you're stumbling over your words, or you might have those scenarios where you're talking to somebody and all of a sudden you're like, I knew the word for a second, and then right as I got to that word, it just dropped. Very classic sign that you're dealing with a metabolism issue. Now, a fourth one's going to be difficulty sleeping. Typically, you might start noticing things like even if you're getting enough sleep, you're probably just not getting the quality sleep that you're really used to getting. And you're still waking up just not refreshed, not recovered. Well, a lot of times that's a signal that at a neurological level and a chemical level, your body's not working the way it's supposed to. Metabolism isn't converting energy, which typically will start resulting in more circadian rhythm issues, which means you might start noticing things like difficulty falling asleep, but not only that, difficulty staying asleep. You might get these strange scenarios where you're waking up 2, 3, 4 o'clock in the morning going, why can't I go back to sleep? Why am I wide awake right now? Typically, that's a sign that we have a metabolism issue as well. And then the fifth one, this one again is probably going to be more obvious, is you're just going to have difficulty losing weight, which means if you can not only consume and convert that energy, it means your body's also not going to use it well either, which means it's typically not going to pull that energy from fat in your body, which means you're going to store more body fat. Not only that, but when your metabolism starts to go out of whack, you typically will start overusing your adrenals, which means you're going to start getting more cortisol imbalance, which cortisol will start packing on more of that belly fat, which just leaves you into a whole rut. And we'll talk about cortisol more in a little bit. So it makes sense when people are dealing with this issue. A lot of times you start seeing things like more prediabetes, weight loss resistance, hormone issues, neurological issues, right? It all comes back down to a metabolic level. So that's where we need to get to. So what I want to give you is some of my 5 best tips that I think are really going to help you boost your metabolism and start getting you back on the right path and get you going the direction you need to go. Now, my first tip is going to be eating plenty of protein. Now, this is for a couple reasons. One is when you get adequate levels of good quality protein, your body's going to help use that to preserve muscle mass. So if your goal is weight loss, you're going to notice it's just going to be easier to maintain a healthy weight and maintain muscle mass without burning that protein. Now, the second reason is protein has an interesting thermic effect on the body. And the reason that is when protein gets introduced in the body, your body has to use more calories to break down protein than it will fats and carbohydrates. It's a natural part of the body. But what's interesting is when the body uses more calories, it tends to have to upregulate your metabolism in order to do that. So by getting enough quality protein, it's going to manage the hunger and the satiety issues that we might be dealing with. But at the same time, it also has this nice natural thermic effect on the body that will increase your metabolism. Now, my second tip is going to be sleep. Sleep and getting great quality and having a good sleep rhythm is going to be really, really important. What I mean by sleep rhythm is more of a sleep routine, right? Giving your body those tools. Our bodies love rhythm, and routine. And so when you get yourself into a better sleep routine and rhythm, your body starts to adapt to that more, which means you're naturally going to start getting better sleep and more deeper, more restful sleep. Now, that's critically important because when you sleep, that's going to help balance hormones like melatonin, but also cortisol, right? We talked about cortisol earlier. Cortisol is part of our stress hormone, but it does affect our metabolism and our immune system in some pretty significant ways. But also sleep will also help with ghrelin. Ghrelin is going to manage the hunger because, again, if you remember, if we eat too much but your body can't use it, it's going to drop your metabolism. You're going to store excess body fat. So sleep is really critical to help our body manage those hormones well, but give our body that rest that it needs so that it can upregulate our metabolism the way it was designed to. The third one is going to be resistance training. I know in other videos I've talked a lot about cardiovascular training, aerobic training, and how it affects the brain. But when we're talking about metabolism, this is a little bit different. Resistance training, sometimes they'll refer to it as a metabolic sink, which means when you actually boost your levels of lean muscle in the body, you actually increase muscle mass. Well, that muscle is going to need energy to sustain itself, and that increases your metabolic baseline. So as you increase muscle mass, naturally your caloric intake and your metabolism has to increase as a byproduct. That's why if you see somebody who's dieting, but they're not focusing on exercise and resistance training, they typically will have a hard time maintaining that weight loss because there's no caloric boost with that lean muscle that's getting built to maintain it. So that's why if you're increasing your resistance training, naturally you're going to increase your metabolic necessary baseline because that muscle is going to need more of that caloric intake to sustain itself. So it's a natural way to start boosting your metabolism naturally. Now, this fourth one is going to come down to some interesting supplements, right? Which is going to be cinnamon and capsaicin. Both of these have a very interesting antioxidant effect on the body, but they've also been shown to have this interesting thermic effect on the body that actually helps boost metabolism. Now, do you need to go out and buy a supplement for these? No, you can naturally just put these on your foods, right? Cayenne pepper is a great way to get capsaicin, and cinnamon, you get the gist, right? So easy ways we can start implementing these in our everyday life, and they just have this natural boost in our metabolism. Now, are these going to be the biggest movers and drivers? No, this wouldn't be my starting point, but it's a nice little cherry on top that people can include in their normal day-to-day rhythm and routines. Now, the last one here is going to be getting more prebiotic foods. And prebiotic foods have been shown to be really helpful for your body to be able to manage insulin levels well, right? Think of things like broccoli, zucchini, things like this, the squashes, the cruciferous vegetables, right? All these are going to be really helpful for managing blood sugar and insulin levels. Because what you find is when your blood sugar levels go too high and insulin rises, you get more insulin resistance. Now, blood glucose and insulin are really important for your metabolism because if these start to increase, they will slow down your metabolism. They will have this negative effect on your metabolism, which is why you'll see so many things when it relates to metabolism talk about glucose, talk about insulin, because when you have this natural boost in insulin and this rising glucose levels from poor foods that we're typically eating, right? Strong carbohydrate diets, lots of sugars, things like that, your body will shut down its metabolism. Right? It's going to have a difficult time doing that. That's why eating some of these cruciferous vegetables, some of these natural prebiotic foods can be so helpful for regulating our metabolism. Not only that, they're also great for managing hunger control, making sure we're not overdoing it. Because again, if you overeat, it's going to have the same response. Too much of a blood sugar rise, too much of an insulin rise, and it's going to slow down your metabolism. That's where these can become extremely helpful. Now, if you're really looking to boost your metabolism, I highly recommend you get a look under the hood and see exactly what's going on, right? It's a great place to understand what does your body really need because some of these might change for you versus if, say, somebody has a high cortisol level versus if they have high cholesterol, right? There's some things that need to be taken into consideration. You need to know where you're starting from and what's going to be the biggest needle mover for you. That's why I always recommend before anybody starts any sort of dietary routine or health and lifestyle changes, start off by getting your blood work, just to see what's going on underneath the hood. That's why I personally use Inside Tracker because they give me some important data that I need to look at, right? One being cortisol. I need to know where my cortisol is at. Does that mean if my cortisol is too high, I need to start looking at my sleep rhythm. I got to start looking at my stress levels. I got to start looking at how much caffeine I'm intaking. If we have high cholesterol, okay, we got to pay attention to how much fat we're getting, right? How much carbohydrates we're getting. How's our liver doing, right? It'll even look at things like AST, ALT to show you liver function. But not only that, once you see those results, they will actually give you specific customized recommendations for you based on what your goals are. Right, so if our goal is building our metabolism, right, maybe losing a little bit of weight, they're going to give you specific goals based on what your biomarkers show. They'll actually have you heading that right direction, right? What specific foods do we need to eat? What sort of routines do we need to start getting in place? That's why I love it, because you can just do it all from your phone. They'll give you your results right there on your phone with your recommendations, with your customizations. I think it's probably one of the most powerful tools that's out there. That's why I recommend everybody start there. And if you're looking into getting that started, it's very affordable to get done. You don't have to have a doctor's appointment or anything like that. They give you the slip to be able to do it. I'll put a link down in the bio down below so you can go check that out. Probably the easiest process you've ever done in your entire life. But it's going to give you so much valuable data that's going to get you going in the right direction. So just check out that link in the bottom for that, so that way you can get started, get your metabolism going in the right direction. And once again, guys, thank you so much for watching this video. Hopefully this was useful, valuable for you. I look forward to seeing you guys in the next video.